We've spared no expense at Oakmont this week in our coverage of the US Open and hired a world-class camera crew to follow Rory's final round. Here he is crossing the turnpike with his playing partner Andrew Novak, his caddy Harry Diamond, and two officers from the Allegheny County Police Department on the way to the second tee. These are his two standard bearers, Drew and Well from Pittsburgh, who found out at 7:30 this morning they would be following him around. Why are there two of them, we ask? Because it's easier, Drew says. Out of the mouth of babes. This is Brian with a bottle of water and Roger Maltby from NBC with a mic as Rory plays his second shot to the fifth. Did you play here back in the day, Brian asks? Yeah, in '83, when Larry Nelson won, Maltby says. He finished tied 32nd that year. This is Rory walking off the 7th tee with his hands on his head. Don't be fooled. He started well with 5 pars and a birdie, so the camera can lie. Wayne Riley from Sky is waiting when he reaches the fairway. Mate, they've sent me out here to check your demeanour, Riley smiles. But it looks all right to me. Rory hits a great drive down the par 5 12th and pulls a 2-iron from the bag. Then he changes his mind and hits a 3-wood that flies into the gallery to the right of the green. There's a blanket on the ground when he reaches the rope line. Have I disturbed someone's lunch, he says. This is Brian and Philip Reid from the Irish Times taking the knee. Some people will do anything for access. These are the workers in the concession stand to the right of the 16th. They've just stopped whooping and cheering for Rory as he walks past. He 3-putts for bogey, but hits a stupendous drive up the hill to find the green on the 17th and just misses the putt for eagle. He makes a great par on 18, shakes Novak's hand and signs for a 67, his best round of the week. Drew and Well are waiting when he comes out of the recorder's hut. He signs 2 balls for them, shakes their hand and skips up the stairs towards the clubhouse where a posse of reporters are waiting. Will he or won't he? He will. Now, Brian, you were standing in the posse when Rory skipped up the steps and made his way towards the microphones. Start with his demeanour, please.
Yeah, he was businesslike. He was professional. He was, dutiful. He was a lot more relaxed, a lot less on edge than he had been on Saturday. I definitely noticed that.
Yeah.
And he played very well during the day, so I think that helped matters considerably.
Yeah, I kind of noticed the difference from the moment he walked onto the range this morning, because he looked better from the moment he stepped on the golf course. I thought he looked different. Practiced, walked off. Ciara Dixon was standing at the end of the range. Ciara Dixon's working for NBC this week.
Yeah.
She had a microphone there. She tentatively asked him would he do a little interview. He did. They had a laugh. He walked to the first tee. I just thought from the moment he started playing today, he was different. And we spoke about this yesterday. We spoke about this in terms of the kind of tension that we felt around him.
Yeah.
And I felt when he skipped up, I wasn't in any doubt today that he would talk. I was in no doubt at all.
Really?
And I felt, I was. Because he'd done it before he went out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he did speak to Ciara, and it was a nice relaxed conversation about the day and what he was going to do afterwards, go home and see, the family and maybe watch a bit of the golf and all the rest of it, and get home.
And I do think with reflection and what happened yesterday, when he wasn't sure that he wanted to do it, that he wanted to do it just almost for the sake of just getting it out of the way. That boil was Lance now, and that he could get back to being who he was.
True.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because he was much more Rory. It was a very typical Rory McIlroy. It was only a 5-minute job.
Yeah.
But it was a good typical Rory McIlroy revealing little interaction, on the day and what's going on ahead.
5 minutes and 8 questions. Now I said last night it was 4:47 and 16 questions. I said there was 8 questions. It was actually 16 because I checked it, so I made a mistake. Whereas tonight was almost the same time, but was much more
The questions were longer than the answers yesterday, and today the answers were far longer than the questions.
And a couple of really interesting questions. He was asked about again this question about what happens next, which is kind of where he's at now. He doesn't really want to. He doesn't know what happens next, and yet he keeps getting asked it. But it was interesting that the answer he gave this time. You know, I climbed my Everest in April, and I think after you've done something like that, you've just got to make your way down and look for another mountain to climb.
Yeah.
And open at Portrush is certainly one of those. Now, it was a great analogy because everybody knows that the thing about getting to the top of Everest is not when you get there, it's coming back down.
Yeah.
That's when most people die. And this is where he is at the moment. He's trying to make his way off the summit of Everest and trying to get down in the same shape that he went up.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting that he would use that.
Because we've been talking about that. You know, that whole Michael Campbell used that line quite a lot after he won his US Open as well.
Everest?
Yeah, the Everest line. He says, you know,
he?
And he even said it to Steve Redgrave when he was looking for a bit of motivation afterwards. You know, what do you do, Steve? You know, when you go up Everest, and Steve Redgrave, of course, typical Redgrave, said, well, climb it without oxygen. Oh, Jesus, I never thought of that, Campbell said, you know. But it's back to base camp is the key when you've gone to the top of Everest. You got to get back down to base camp.
Yeah.
And base camp for Rory, you know, because the question came from BBC Northern Ireland, 3 majors down, 1 to go. Portrush, here we come. So it was kind of started the interview on a nice positive about going home.
Yeah.
And, you know, he liked talking about going home. He's looking forward to going home.
Yeah.
He's got a new house in London. He's going home to see everybody. He went home privately, you know, when he won the Masters to see his folks and everybody. But he hasn't seen all his pals. He hasn't seen everybody. And of course, the entire country will be up in Portrush waiting for him. So he wants to put on a bit of a show. And, you know, it's getting himself mentally ready for that now is what he said is the key.
And you asked him a great question. And you know, a great question in that we got it. Now, what was great about, it wasn't that we got an answer. We got him.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
We got him.
Yeah, from the heart. It was from the heart.
So the question was about the feelings of being unprepared last time.
Yeah.
And he mentioned he gave that great example. You know, I remember I hit a shot into 12 or 13 on Friday night trying to make the cut. I remember the roar I got when the ball hit the green, and I felt like I was about to burst into tears.
Yeah.
And this is the line. This is the great line.
Yeah.
Just the support and love from your own people. That's the bit I just thought was.
I think, and it's particularly opposite as well at the moment when, you know, especially in this room in here, there's a lot of American journalists who are still grumbling and moaning about Rory
honestly, they can go and shite. They can go and shite. I'm sorry. Nobody has given more to these same American journalists, and if they can't kind of get through like a couple of weeks where he's out of sorts, and then they can, you know, go and find Sam Burns and see how they do with him.
Yeah, true. You know. But he was, you can sense that, you know, he's trying to get himself emotionally ready for this, so it won't hit him like a ton of bricks when he gets up to Portrush, and there's 278,000 people there for the week. That week, well, they'll be expecting him to win the Open, of course.
Well, again, because Stephen asked him about, you know, taking the green jacket back to Northern Ireland. He says, well, I want to be there on Sunday night with a green jacket and a claret jug. So he's thinking like about the big thing is winning, you know.
And he was delighted with himself, you know, that the game, you know, we went back to the driver again. He said, look, it wasn't the driver, it was the drivee more than anything else, and he feels like he's getting it back, and he was absolutely...
And played a lot better today.
He played really great.
Played lovely.
I mean, he played, okay, you're in the middle of the pack, there's not much pressure on. I mean, you know, he shot 67, which was, you know, the joint best round of the day, you know, so...
Joint best round, and finishes where, tied 19th?
Tied 19th in the end, you know, I think, you know, he was about 29th when he finished, and he was 19th in the end.
Another good finish at a US Open, wow, who would have thought that?
Back to our top 20,
Now, as we were following Rory, and
it was beautiful when he finished.
Beautiful day when he finished.
Yeah, light breeze, lovely.
And then we had the most remarkable afternoon.
I know, yeah, it was like the wacky races, or like the demolition derby. It was, you know, there was guys driving into fucking lampposts, going on fire, crashing off in the rough. I mean, Oakmont, it came alive.
It came alive. Very exciting.
It did get very exciting. I mean, at one stage we had a five-way tie for the lead, you know, but overnight. Yeah, so, Sam Burns
what was the stat last night? We spoke about the stat last night.
If you're not in the top 4,
right? Well, that went straight out the window.
It was, but of course that was all US Opens. I think we'd gone to Oakmont, of course. Sure, Johnny Miller was 6 behind when he won.
Right.
You know, in 60 shots, he shot 63. But you began to think as the day wore on, and Scotty Scheffler was on television a lot. They showed everything he did, every putt he hit. He's going, God, he's only 4 over. Maybe he could. Maybe, Jesus, the way these guys are going backwards.
I actually thought
he
really
might post 2 or 1
Yeah.
over. 1 over might even do this, but he just didn't quite have it all this week. And it's amazing how talented he is. To shoot 4 over without, it really was his C game this week.
Now let's talk about the winner, because he was remarkable. And
I know.
I was
We wrote him off last night,
delighted.
kind of.
I was delighted for him.
Delighted for him too.
Well, Paul McGilly tipped him. He says
I heard him,
he thought he'd do it. And
liked him.
Yeah, he liked him, and
A terrier like Paul.
And given he'd gone so close at the players, you couldn't dismiss him.
True.
And yet the most disastrous of starts.
Yeah.
Like 5 bogeys in the first 6 holes.
Bogey, par, bogey.
5 bogeys in the first 6 holes.
And you must think, well, that's.
Now he wasn't lucky. His second shot into the second that hit flagstick and rolled almost back off the green. That was.
Although he was 3 under when he started, so he was only back to +2, so he wasn't completely out of it.
So the rain delay, then he goes in thinking this is it, it's gone, and there's a rain delay, and he gets a chance to regroup, and he comes out and he's reset, as they say.
Yeah, and he was a couple behind, I think, Burns and Scott. They were through around 7 holes. You know, they were both.
So where does Burns look like he's going to do it? Where does Burns throw it away? Because he quadruple on 11, was it?
Yeah, it was on 11 particularly. He didn't find the fairway. He stuck it in the face of a fairway bunker up near the green, then went over the green, again. Yeah, so it was a comedy of errors really there. Also Scott, the rain was really coming down at that stage.
Right.
It was getting difficult. The ball was squirting off the club face. It was getting
Is
hard.
it unfair at that stage?
I think there was an element of fortune, I suppose, in that, because the fairways were getting very wet as well. There was casual water. Guys
that
getting
seems
drops.
Unfair.
There was a little bit of
that's golf. I suppose that is golf.
That's golf. You gotta roll
I keep
with
struggling.
the punches.
I keep struggling with that. It's not a fair game.
You keep rolling. Yeah. So
not always a fair game.
I know. I mean, look at the two guys. Burns came home. 40 on the back nine, 78. Finished tied for 7th. Adam Scott, 41. I mean, I felt kind of sorry for him. Was 79, tied for 12th. But Burns, you hold the putts.
Yeah.
And he held about a 40-footer on the 12th, and then he held a great putt on the 14th. And that got him into I think it was a 5-way tie for the lead at that stage. And then he survived. It was a survival of the fittest coming in. I mean, Robert McIntyre was looking like he was going to come the first left-hander to win the US Open when somebody told me there this evening while it was going on.
Played well now, in fairness to him.
Really well coming down.
He
He reminds me of Shane Lowry a lot, a very similar type of player, sort of a fiery guy.
Yeah.
Just, great bit of heart to him.
JJ Spaun now becomes a US Open winner at Oakmont. How will Oakmont feel about JJ Spaun as a US Open champion?
I hope they'll be hoping he's going to go on and do something else in his career and sort of justify the joining the greats.
And how do you feel? How do you feel about the week? I don't feel as
it was.
Well, it didn't match Pinehurst. It didn't come
close.
close.
No, it wasn't even close. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
And we're going to get more of this.
It was a real slow burner, and it was a slow burner not just for 54 holes. I mean, it was all the way up until the rain delay. Really, it was fairly turgid stuff. Really, with the course being so difficult and the rain making it a bit soft, and maybe not all the big names being up there. But it was certainly entertaining.
It was terrific at the end.
It was.
Anyway, we're fired up for Portrush, and God willing, we'll see you there
in a few weeks' time.
Brian, thanks for everything.
No problem.
See you soon.
Thank you.